Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Yu-Gi-Oh's next core set, Rage of the Abyss, has been fully unveiled, so now it's time to cover all the new archetypes we'll be seeing floating around in the card pool. Today, we're going to start off with a theme that's currently pretty low in card count, but has a lot of room to grow. Or rather, to dig deep to find its true potential. Folks, did you know that I love normal monsters? Not only are they the only monsters that'll actually tell you what's going on, the designer's attempts to make them relevant to a modern meta has always been fascinating to me. From World Chalice to Magic Key, these cards hold a special place in my heart. And now, we've got a new theme that's looking to polish up these diamonds in the rough. Get out your favorite normal monster, which is of course Tri-Horn Dragon, because it's time for Primoredials Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. So what's the deal with Primordials? Well, we can't really put down what their monsters are like because they only really have one of them, so until we get more, I can't say. Even the primordial dragon part of its name that sounds like it should hint towards what its overall type should be can't be trusted, cause they'll call anything a dragon in this game. What really ties the theme together is its love for normal monsters. Several of our cards give us the ability to summon any normal monster in the game that you can name. And the best part is, with the exception of like one card, none of these effects lock you out of just playing your deck as normal, making this archetype a very strong engine for decks that care about those types of monsters, while also providing some incredible support and tools. In fact, here's a really good example right here. Imperial Dragon, the Primordial Dragon, is a level 6 Earth Dragon monster with 2600 attack and 0 defense, and to normal summon this card face up, you have to tribute a normal monster. During your opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can reveal this card in your hand, and immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a primordial monster. If this card is tribute summoned, you can apply these effects in sequence. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls, then banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same type and or attribute as any normal monster in your grave. Oh wow, so that's goofy. While the normal summon you can get during your opponent's turn currently only has one available target, this guy, it's one hell of a target, because now you can use this to mess with your opponent on their own turn. And even if your opponent's board doesn't match any of your yarded normal monsters, by negating all of their effects permanently, you still ensure that they're rendered completely useless. It's also kinda cool to see that with how the banishing effect works, means that Imperial Dragon is gonna have a different level of usage across the different themes you could splash it into. For instance, if you play this in Blue Eyes, you're only gonna be banishing light and dragon monsters, which is good, but it's not gonna catch everything. On the other end of the spectrum, if you played in Magic Keys, yeah, this is basically a board wipe. I'm not quite sure where the monster lineup for this theme goes from here, but if they're anything like this, we are in for a wild ride. You could say it's the Imperial core of the deck. Primordial Schiller is a quick play spell card that requires you to reveal a normal monster or a primordial card in your hand, except a copy of this card, to activate. Though if you control a normal monster or a level 5 or higher primordial monster, except a token, you don't have to pay the reveal cost. You target a face-up card on the field and negate its effects, and if you do, banish it. And during your main phase, if you control a primordial monster, you can set this card from your grave. Wow, that is some grade A premium removal. It's not necessarily an omni-negate, but it can hit any face-up card on the field, meaning this can interrupt monsters, spells, or traps. And now every deck with normal monsters can use this. And it's also removal! Now, it is only repeatable if you have Imperial Dragon on board, or any future Primordials, but it is still technically repeatable, so every other turn you have an answer for anything that hits the board as long as you maintain your primordial presence. That is some amazing shilling, and trust me, as a YouTuber, I would know. Primordial Tremors is a quick play spell card that has you paying 2,000 life points and declaring the name of a normal monster to apply the following effect. Then, if you control no monsters, you can special summon a normal monster with the declared name from your deck in defense position. Once applied, your normal monsters with the declared name, as well as primordial monsters, cannot be destroyed by battle until the end of your opponent's turn. Also, if your opponent normal summons a monster, you can banish this card from your grave, then target a normal monster you control or that's in your grave to banish a monster on the field with a lower attack than that target. So this is our big tutor. Any normal monster you want, you can get. If you're playing Phantasm Spiral, you can just turbo it out, trigger Pacifist's effect to get that Phantasm Spiral card, and now you're all set. And because Phantasm Spiral is so big, the grave effect of Tremors is now going to have a lot of targets for it to banish. Because of this, Tremors works best in decks with big normal monsters, but because this can summon any of them, it shouldn't be overlooked in any of our normal monster decks, no matter how small those monsters can be. It can even be as small as this emerging Baby Dragon. Oh, wait, Baby Dragon, that's a good one, write that one down. Primordial Imperial Load is a continuous spell card that boosts the attack of all normal monsters and primordials that you control by 300 for each normal monster in your grave with a different name. When this card is activated, you can add a primordial card from your deck to your hand, except a copy of this card, and you can also declare a normal monster name to special summon said normal monster from your hand, deck, or grave, but you cannot activate special summoned monsters' effects for the rest of the turn. Now, this is slightly better than Tremors because A, it doesn't cost you a quarter of your starting life point total to activate, and B, summons a monster even if you have others in play. The downside is that special summoned monsters have their effects locked out for the turn, but that doesn't mean you still can't summon them out at all, so go nuts. If you have a monster with a good effect that can be activated during your opponent's turn, it's still a really good idea to fold your normal monsters into it. And that's just one of this card's benefits. Not only does this get you any primordial card when activated, getting you any part of your ever-expanding toolbox, the attack boost is also pretty swanky. 300 by itself isn't that much, but if your deck uses a lot of different normal monsters, this bonus can stack up fast, especially if you have multiple Imperial loads on the board at once. And that all kinda evens out, right? The decks that use one normal monster, like, say, Dark Magician, only really have a single one for you to boost, while the decks running many normal monsters, think the aforementioned World Chalice and Magic Key, that boost is going to turn your little critters into titans of combat. Not to mention that this is a breathtaking locale. Though I must say I'm more of an Imperial Lobe person myself. That's out there for my Psychonauts fans out there. Primordial Opener is a normal trap card that has you declaring the name of a normal monster and apply this effect. Then, if you control no monsters, you can special summon a normal monster with the declared name from your deck or grave. You take no battle damage from battles involving your normal monster that you named and primordial monsters for the rest of the turn. Also, during your opponent's turn, you can banish this card from your grave, then target a monster you control or in your grave to take control of a monster your opponent controls with a higher attack than the target until the end phase. So you can't take it during your own turn to make maximum use of those monsters, but this still means it's a massively powerful disruption tool. And because it takes from an attack higher than your targeted normal monster, you're incentivized to run itty-bitty ones to make use of it, which means this works stupendously with the Doll Monster series of cards. It's also much easier to fire off since you aren't paying that big life point cost to activate, so that's a plus. I'm positive we've got a lot more support like this down the line, but I honestly feel like this makes for a pretty good opener. Alright, so that's all of the primordial cards, but what do we do with them? Well, as stated previously, we don't really have enough cards to make a full deck out of them. They work much better as supplemental engines in other decks that rely on normal monsters. They provide ease of access to said monsters, powerful negation and removal, as well as a bit of a power buff. The question is, who best does that help out? First, I think it's important to identify which normal monsters actually aren't helped by this. And those are primarily going to be the protagonist ace monsters. Think your Blue Eyes, your Dark Magicians, Red Eyes, and Elemental Hero Neos. At this point, any deck that wants to use them already has the infrastructure to make them work, and the frameworks are already so bloated that they won't be supported by little engines like this, they'll actually be bogged down. Maybe it can work with Red Eyes since the ways to play it are so varied, but in general, those decks want to send Red Eyes to the graveyard, not summon it out to the field, so the Primordial engine doesn't really mesh with those objectives. As for decks that really need to see their normal monsters, Sun Avalon is a good candidate. Paying 2,000 life points to get Genius Loci into rotation is a bargain, but as we stated previously, Phantasm Spiral Dragon makes great use of this. Previously, you just subsisted on the token generated by the field spell because summoning a level 8 monster was pretty taxing, but now we can make full use of it, and you can still get the token from the field spell. Just remember that Schiller won't use the token as a way to bypass the reveal cost. And in between these two extremes, we have decks like Magic Key and World Chalice. Now, we do have to be careful because in decks like this, the summon from Imperial Load doesn't mesh very well with their style of taking normal monsters and using them as material for extra deck summons. But we do still want to see those normal monsters, and in the case of Magic Key, we want specific attributes to make the most of their effects, so we'll want to be relying on Tremors and Opener for our summons, though the attack boost and search from Imperial Load is still very welcome. As for a silly tech pick, I want something that makes the most of Imperial Dragon. Appropriately, once it hits board, it's just as much of a vanilla monster as its teammates. So getting it back into our hand is going to be paramount to trigger its tribute summon effect. And we actually have the perfect card for this in a Wing Beat of Giant Dragon. Not only will this put Imperial back into our hand, it's also a heavy storm. Now the downside is that we do lose any Imperial loads that we have committed to the board, but we can get all the value we need from that card before committing to that bit. And that's all I have to say about Primordials. It's not currently the most exciting theme, but there's a treasure trove of possibilities here. Normal monsters can be used for many things. They make for good tuners, they can build overlay networks, they can even be pendulum summoned. And the all but confirmed level 4 and lower Primordials we'll see in the future have the possibility of changing how we use normal monsters in the future, or could examine some other angle we never could have thought of before. No matter what though, I'm sure all of you will use this power responsibly by using them to summon Tri-Horn Dragon as much as possible, the best normal monster in all of Yu-Gi-Oh, baby! But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Primordials going to be extremely normal about this? Or is their flavor a bit too vanilla? And which ones, which art is your favorite? Imperial does look badass, but the perspective of Imperial Load is, I don't know, it's kind of breathtaking. Let me know your favorite down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. And speaking of those lovely patrons, I'd like to give them a thanks right now. This month's Quasar Commander is Upstairs Media, Nebula Navigators are 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabits, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Owexa Toihime, Anansi Dragon, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Emony Chan, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Gloomba 331, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Leo 458, Mana Charge, Marion James E. Picata, Mega Combi, Millennia Asta, Mern, Nathan Vig, Natiel Lee Alexander, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sammy Haim, Serenity Towns, Skybuster Leo, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ariel Kersey, Baron von Titty Sprinkles, Beelzephyr, Beluga Master, Blitzwolf, Borger with a Shotgun, Chaz Ghost, Childish Lamar, Dr. Reaper R.I.P., Drachenwald, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Ignis Heath the True Draco Slayer, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Kevon Public, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Marluxia's a Girl, Matt Simmons, McSpoofy, Michael Shimabukuro, Night Tromo, Nyx, Obsidian, Shizuka Nijimura, Sophie, apparently, Stephen Williamson, Taylor Seymour, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Pokemon 52, Tiger X2476, Visor KG, Zeldreka and Zalus, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you liked what you saw and want to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the links to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another video about a deck that enjoys their normal monsters, check out this video where I cover the members of the World Chalice. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.